Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
Video from rural India. A large bonfire lit for a traditional event. And then, a man who herds goats begins to walk his flock around the fire. Once, twice, thrice. And then, he steps away. But the goats keep going. Round and round they go. No leader, no destination. Just movement for the sake of movement. Blindly following the one ahead. And suddenly, it's not just a circle. It's a cycle, a vicious, self-perpetuating loop. It reminded me of what we often see around us. In religion, in politics, in society. So many follow without question, without clarity, without understanding the true intent of the one they're following. Not because they believe, but because they're conditioned. Because stepping out of the circle takes courage. The fire in the middle may be real or imagined, but the fear, the motion, the blind, it's all too real. Ask yourself, are you thinking or are you following? Are you chasing purpose or are you circling the flame? If this made you pause, subscribe, share it to someone who needs to hear this.
Well, we're gonna talk today about stepping out of the circle, and the guy that we're gonna be talking with is my brother from another mother, David Clements. The system depends on us going the direction they want us to go on. I've had this video earlier where I was called an anti-Semite. So I've been called a racist, a homophobe, an anti-Semite, an Islamophobe. I've been called all of it, and I don't care. But the reality of it is that the media has dictated what pathway we're allowed to take. And anytime you get outside of that, the bully pulpit and the organizations designed to be that bully pulpit put that hammer down on us. And President Trump is talking about what's going on in California, and he can see it. He knows. And David's going to talk about that. He's going to join us here in a minute. I want to play this, and then I'll get his thoughts. This is Trump calling out Democrats as cheating dogs in California elections. Play it.
Because they're cheating dogs, and it's so bad for the country. You'd almost think they hate the country, because they can't. They're not stupid people. You can't cheat like they did. And look at the election in California as an example. After a week, they determined that the kid who's leading and had all the mojo, all of a sudden he doesn't make the runoff. And then I hit them hard on that, but I started talking about Steve Hilton, who's a fantastic guy. And I saw them say it was going to be 2 weeks before they knew. And I started hitting them. It's going to happen to Steve Hilton too. It's watch, you got to watch. And they approved Steve Hilton very quickly. They didn't want it. There was too much heat on him. The only reason he got approved, he had all the votes he needed, probably to be first place. But the only reason they approved Steve Hilton, it was going to be 2 weeks. They said it. And then they approved him that night because the heat was on them, because they're cheating dogs. And you can't have a great country when that happens. That's why Los Angeles, that's why that state is in such trouble.
Well, there's no other reason why than having selections. And he said they approved Steve Hilton. So now joining us is David Clements. David, welcome. It's good to see you. You know, I had a deposition yesterday with a Eric Coomer for the Patrick Byrne case. And, you know, what's strange about the deposition is that they kept repeating stuff that they knew wasn't true. Like the Antifa activist didn't exist. And I'm like, well, that's a lie. And then they're like, and you weren't sure it was Eric Coomer. And I was like, yeah, I became more and more sure. You weren't sure on November 5th or November 6th. And I was like, I was 90% sure. I wanted to put out the 10% just in case I was wrong, but he's got a distinct voice. And then I brought up the part about, remember when you when we were there and we were going through this video and it had this voice that was played and it was Eric Coomer's voice. I was like, what is that? So I said that in the deposition, and everyone got a chuckle except for Coomer and his attorney.
Mm.
It is really good to see you.
Yeah, man. You seem like you're in pretty decent spirits, all things aside from the deposition, which is good. You know, I
I
saw
had a
one of your
good time.
posts earlier. Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet you did.
Yeah, I mean,
Was Eric there?
oh, he showed up. Yeah, you could feel him seething in the background, and he didn't show his camera, but he showed up. I even made his attorney laugh. I even made Coomer's attorney laugh. So I'm you know what I am? I'm at the Zen. I'm at the David Clements Zen spot.
Oh boy.
Just right there. Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, I'm glad to hear you get through it. How was Patrick? Was he there as well?
No. But Peter Tickton was there, and AG Tickton. We should make him the AG. And then Stephanie was there, and who else was there? Oh, David Wilson. No, David Wilson. My attorney wasn't there, and they were supposed to postpone it because he couldn't be there. And then I was like, I've done like 6 of these with these guys. I could go do a deposition with them. I'm not afraid of any of their questions.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're on the other side of that, and I'm still praying for exposure. You know, you seem like you've got a good sense that they know the gig is up, but they got to keep punching while they can.
You know, it's the process is the punishment, and I've come to the conclusion that there are a lot more bad people even on our side than there are good people. I'm pretty sure that you probably came to that same conclusion.
Yeah, pretty early. Yeah, pretty early.
Oh,
At least the ones that have platforms. You know, the American people are wonderful. I mean, in our travels, when we would go out and speak with your everyday American, that's where you find hope. But yeah, you start getting into conservative ink circles, it's hard not to be disappointed.
you know, what was really interesting about yesterday is that I thrive on technology, I thrive on data and stuff like that. And so a bunch of the questions, they were just like going through data, and I was like, let's go, come on. This is like why I thrive. And I was like, yeah, well, this column is this and this, and then they sent me something else, and I was like, yeah, see how this one has this header. And so I got to really kind of play a little bit in the middle of a deposition with kind of just basic stuff, that knowledge that you'd have to have in order to understand the concept behind how elections are. But they did say some weird stuff like, you don't have any experience being in the election equipment business. And I was like, no. And they're like, you've never worked for an election company. And I was like, no. I think they forget that you're just counting. It's just pieces of paper. And then normal people will do the counting. Like, they walk over here and Hobo Joe can just drop it down. And
Well, I think that what they were doing is they're likely creating foundational barriers for you in the event that you get to trial, that you can't opine on election, XYZ, because they're trying to limit the expertise to an area that, unless you have gone through their pre-selected ivory tower, which is like a CIA construct, unless
Yeah.
we approved you through the Atlantic Council and approved you through our vectors, then you shouldn't be able to say, yeah, the election was rigged. And so, there's a standard in the law called the Daubert standard, and this is what provides you with the foundation to give an expert opinion. And here's the deal, when you start getting into the architecture, people like Sean Smith, for instance, Colonel Sean, he wasn't an expert in Dominion. He didn't work for Dominion, but the guy's bona fides on the components that are used are far superior to anyone in Dominion.
Right.
And the same thing can be said about you with your understanding of technology. And so when you start getting into bits and bytes and hardware and firmware and software, those are the components that are are used to conduct an election. So the fact that, you don't have by your name, Joe Oltmann, elections guru, it kind of misses the point. And unfortunately, that's what they've done. I mean, they've tried to create this little ivory tower, and only the people that the CIA approves or the Department of Homeland Security can give an opinion. And so what we're going to eliminate from the equation is any discussion of just common sense. Like, your eyes saw what they saw. Mine too. So did another 100 million Americans. They saw what we saw, and they're losing the fight. I mean, it's one of those things where I would like to think their confidence at this point is largely manufactured. It's not real, because Trump's there. The fact that he has the bully pulpit, and it wasn't just the clip that you showed. He had that interview that he walked out of. I forget the news agency. You could tell he's fed up. The American people are fed up. We're just all waiting for the same thing: arrest.
And you had Kardashian, it was Kash Patel. Sorry, I went with Kardashian Patel. You had Kash Patel that said that this morning or yesterday, I think it was yesterday. He goes, the arrests are imminent. He goes, we've already got it all handled. The arrests are imminent. They're coming in, which is something we've worked on for 6 years, right? It's just, I just believe that there's so many pieces at work and people at work that are trying to play hide the weenie, just like they did with Jeffrey Epstein, right? They, people have escaped any consequences for 20, 25 years. And, it's Plaskett. Is it Plaskett? She's the rep from is it Dominican Republic or what? She's a non-voting member of Congress.
Okay.
Plaskett, that she was communicating while she was grilling someone in the Intelligence Committee with Jeffrey Epstein. Like, while she's actually going and talking,
Oh, yeah.
Jeffrey Epstein is actually telling her what to say. And he got charged. The guy that actually put together a dossier of this got charged for putting together a dossier of the people in Congress that are directly correlating with and being driven by Jeffrey Epstein, who was a derivative of Mossad and the CIA, right? So it's just, we're in this world where, in the perfect world, there'd be a lot of arrests, people would go to prison, people would be hung, we would be able to restore elections to where people can actually vote for people that take care of their community. But unfortunately, we have people that are in positions of power and authority that are just so piggish that they just want to stuff their faces at the expense of the American people. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good analysis, I think. I should get a podcast.
Well, if there's one thing that the attorneys on the other side agree, you are a podcaster.
I am a podcaster. And that's the worst part. I mean, that's not the worst part. It's the best part. I mean, the fact that I'm a podcaster and they censor me on every platform and they do what they can to shut me up because I'm not a part of their little tribe. But I keep getting these phone calls where, like, Joe, you were right. I was like, oh, I was? Well, that's neat. I'm just a podcaster. Like, I don't know anything about technology. I just tripped, fell over, and said, oh, the elections were stolen. Podcaster. How do they get away with that, by the way? They don't call you a lawyer either. They call you an activist.
Well, they call me a lot of other things too.
Some are true. Some are true.
Yeah. They get away with it until they don't, right? And the people that are listening to them, to a large degree, I don't care what they think. I mean, I care what good people think. But if liberals want to, run to a liberal rag and give their voice to the brainwashed public and say mean things, that's okay.
Yeah. Well, give us an update on where have you been? What have you been up to there? I know you've been working on things. You're somewhat, I've been following quite a bit of it, but frankly, I've tried to stay away from social media for the last little bit. So I'm sparsely posting.
Yeah, same here. I'm still doing probably a half dozen legal pursuits with folks that some of which that are fighting the good fight against the heavy hand of the deep state. That's all I'll say on that. Went to the Rededicate event in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't make it.
It's okay. And kind of just figuring out when the end of this season, is exactly. I think at the last video and article I put out was just another future cast of two conventions. One in the spirit, which was the gathering, and explaining to people why it's essential that we had a period of national reflection, repentance, and teasing the idea of why did Trump call for a midterm convention for the GOP when that's never been done in the nation's history. What exactly would have to happen between now and the fall for that to have any relevance other than just another pep rally? And from my vantage point, I'm not interested in another pep rally, but I am interested in mass vacancies due to arrest. And then the midterm convention during an off year is exciting. And so that's my prayer. I look at the UFC cage that's being set up on the lawn of the White House, and the critics and the black pillars are like, it's a circus. What's going on here? This is just theater. And I don't believe that. I believe that Trump's ability to troll and get people to be all in calling him out is always strategic. And my only thought is that this cage that's being set up, if it's going to host MMA fighters, I think there's a better way to demonstrate America's independence against tyranny, not to have two American fighters that swore the same oath. It would be great if we had different people in a cage. And my prayer continues to be this idea that cages are coming and just prosecutions are on the way. And then, so that's where I've been pouring my energy. And then recently, I think God has told me just be still. And that's the toughest thing for someone like me. I like having something to do. And so life has thrown a few major monkey wrenches my way over the past few weeks. My dad is entering into hospice, and so I've been by his bed. And that's been tough. And I've got a back injury that goes back about 15 years, and it's reared its ugly head. So I've been dealing with that. And so just a bunch of things, whether I like it or not, I'm having to confront, a time of saying goodbye to people that I love. But, it's like any family, this better than anyone. Just the fractures in family can be tough. So that's where I'm at right now. And I'm thankful that I've actually been able to have the time to be there for my dad.
I'm sorry. You said something at the beginning when you started talking about this change in season, like when is the next season? And I think the one thing that people forget is that while we're out there fighting, we still have a family right behind us. We still have children, we still have obligations, we still have all the same things that everyone else deals with. But we have this heaped upon us responsibility to go out there and teach people and help people and assist in gathering data and evidence and things like that. Mm-hmm. And it becomes, when you slow it down a little bit, this is just my perspective, but when you slow it down a little bit, it's the enormity of what we've done over the last 6 years becomes so obvious. But then the gravity of having to take care of your family and maybe look at holes that have been created over that 6 years starts really opening up some wounds that you didn't even know you had. Like you didn't know you got shot in the chest. You didn't know you got shot in the legs. And so you look down and now you're bleeding. and you can finally take a break, and then you feel the pain of those bleeds, I guess. So I
Yeah,
don't know if that,
something's got to give. If you're willing to sacrifice yourself for something greater, for the cause of restoring the soul of the nation, which has effectively been the call on both of our lives, is we got to get our voices back through elections. Something's got to give, and unfortunately, it's always your family. It's always the people that are closest to you. Um, and that's, in some ways, I think God has prepared us for that. I think, the fact that we're both children of dysfunction and dysfunctional families and growing up in tough places,
yeah,
you have to get acquainted
yeah,
with disappointment. Oh, that's the way that it look. A happy family looks. I don't have that. And so what happens is you start creating within yourself ways to turn off switches, is what I call it. And maybe it's the switch where you feel too deeply. And it's not to say that I don't feel, but it's one of those things where after a while you're like, feeling deeply doesn't solve the problem.
correct.
And that doesn't mean that there's not something wrong with me because I wasn't more present for, let's say, my dad or whoever. When I came on the scene in 2021, it was after being on Tucker's show. And around that same time, my sister got shot in the head. And you wouldn't know that from any of the interviews and stuff that I did in 2021. And but you're in this triage mentality of like, okay, God, I'm not a surgeon. I'm not a medical specialist. I don't know how to take care of my sister. And frankly, I'm trying to survive my own eventual firing at the university and not knowing where, income's going to come from. And at the same time, a little later on, my brother institutionalized, and he goes blind. He actually has one of his retina detached. So there's always like this call, like, oh, Dave, you could be a better brother to your sister. You could be a better brother to your brother. You should be visiting with this person and kind of doing the routine of being what, a good son or a good sibling. And, so that's real. That's a real struggle of like, yeah, okay, I'm just going to have to short circuit all this and say, I'm not going to be a good brother because I can't be. I'm not going to be a great son in this season because if we don't save our country, there's no, like, I've counted the cost. Like the whole point is if I'm going to have this idea of my family being stable, we have to have a government that works. Because I've also got children that I'm fighting for, and I've
Yeah,
got,
you have your priorities, right? Your children are your priority.
it's triage, right? So it's like, okay, my brother's in a facility. He's getting 3 squares a day. He's got 24/7 care. And I know he's okay. But you know who's not okay right now? A bunch of J6 prisoners that are in prison. And so, I mean, as weird as that sounds, it's like, yeah, I mean, part of me is like, I'm built to deal with that, where I think a lot of people would say, no, there's no way I would make the hard choice of not being at my brother's bedside or my sister in the hospital room. And so that's the kind of stuff that, it's 1,000 little stories like that over the past 6 years where it might be fair. People could say there's something wrong with you for making that decision. But be that as it may, it's that choice that allowed me to, be miserable in other ways. Right. I mean, it's all, pick your misery, but it's about being effective. And, if the house is burning, you run towards the flames and you pull people out. And that's kind of what I felt like I've been doing over the past 6 years. And to some large extent is we're just pulling people away from the fire. And, but yeah, I don't like thinking about it because it makes me sad, but that's one of the things that I'm dealing with right now is I'm kind of being confronted with that bargain, whatever it was. I struck that bargain, and now it's rearing its ugly head now because I'm running out of time with my dad.
You've met Gordon, obviously, who's my best buddy in the world. I love that man. He's turning 90. And when I started this fight, he was, you know, what, 70, 74? It was a different, I mean, 84, excuse me. It was just different. It was different. There's a difference in time. 84, you know, plenty of time. You think, okay, he's out playing golf with me. Now we don't play golf anymore. He's 90 years old. He couldn't go 18 holes if he wanted to. And I felt like, you know, and it's not the same as your family, but you see your kids. My daughter's now 29. My son is 26. You know, 6 years, it's a long time. I'm not sure people understand how long 6 years is. It's and we're just now, after 6 years, getting to the place that the gas is wearing off of the gaslighting. And now people on the left are like, yeah, the elections are stolen. What happened in California, totally bogus. Right?
Yeah. Hmm.
You know, I didn't know what we were going to talk about, but the counting of the cost. I have a really hard question for you, and this is like working a problem backwards. And this is not a planned question, so I need to. Not that we plan any questions. Was it worth it? Was the last 6 years worth it?
Well, my gut is yes, I wouldn't trade. I wouldn't trade anything because the choice was always about aligning yourself with truth. And I know part of me says if I would have aligned with the lie, life would have been easier in a material sense, right? But my soul would have been pathetically shriveled up if I chose that path. So I would rather have a mind, will, and emotions that are strong. And I feel like I've got those in spades. But, you know, from the outside looking in, you're like, okay, whatever it is that I've built over the past 40 plus years, you know, it's debatable on whether it was worth it. Like, why go to school and get a degree if you can't get into a courthouse and not be ridiculed because someone's got a Google Google article. But I found peace recently, and this is probably in the past week, on this question. If you ever open your Bible to the book of Ecclesiastes,
Yes.
I've read it, never popped for me. But this week it popped. And it's written and authored by Solomon.
I just want everybody to know I've never had this conversation with you. We did not talk about this prior to this.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
And Solomon is counted as the wisest man that has ever lived, the son of King David. And this is basically him doing a life review. And what makes the book so astonishing is it is basically a life review of demoralization. He's saying right out the gates, vanity, oh vanity, everything's meaningless. Everything's meaningless. He questions everything. His success. Now, this is a guy who achieved success and starts lamenting that his children are basically going to screw up everything that he built, and there's nothing he can do about it. He talks about experiencing every single pleasure known to man. He had his harems, he had his women, and saying it was meaningless. And so this was a guy that gave me a light bulb moment that having greater wisdom does not equal greater happiness. Having a greater list of accomplishments does not equal greater happiness. In fact, the greater your mind, the more wisdom that you have, the greater degree that you can see and identify the problem. And the greater the complexity of the problem, it can become so great if you actually tap into the mind of God that it's mind-breaking. And so Solomon epitomizes the perfect example of a man who stood between sanity and insanity at the highest level. And so he gets to ask these super super tough questions of, was it worth it all? Being the wisest man in the world. And it's not really expressly stated in the scriptures, but I think that the answer to the more fundamental question of happiness has everything to do with something that so few of us chase, which is the presence of God. Whatever it is that gives you that feeling where you swell in the chest, the truth when you see it, that moves you to tears, whatever that is, and it's all too fleeting. That's the source of joy, and there's always a tinge of sadness and regret and all those things. But that book, 6 years ago, over my head.
Yeah.
This week, boy, it felt like it was written just for me.
Yeah, just what was odd is that I found myself reading it because a friend called me and said, "Hey, you need to read this," and mostly because I've stepping away from politics and stepping away from the localized fight and letting people get what they are willing to tolerate, right? And letting the system burn to the ground if that's what it takes. Right? It's already burned to the ground. Let's see how further they can burn it to the ground. And just recognizing that I can only do what God wants me to do and what I got to stay on that path. I got to be consistent. But sometimes the outcome, most of the time, is not what you would anticipate it to be. Most of the time, it's not, our wins and losses. I feel like we've lost so much. And then I'm like, well, we have won some things. So then are we counting our blessings or are we looking at the balls and strikes differently? So I just, it's difficult to see the last 6 years and not love all the things that we did together. Like, it was so much fun. Even the parts of it where I still look back and go, would that actually happen? That looked like two-finger.
Oh, yeah. Well, we won't talk about that again.
We won't talk about that at all.
Until the statute of limitations runs. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It's just the accomplishments. I mean, this is one of the things that I've been wrestling with lately is, we all want to be encouraged. We all want to have hope. And I feel like I've filled a niche over the past 6 years to give people hope. Don't give up. Don't give up. And then there's times where you just have to shut up. It's like, all right, Lord, I can't be someone's hope for them. I can't get them to a place where they create a mind that is made of sterner stuff. And God's going to have to show up. And I think God's ready to show up and show off. And so that we're in that period right now. Now, again, I could be wrong. And I've qualified all of my offerings, my articles, my videos with the idea that, either in 6 months' time, I'm going to come off looking like I'm some prophet that was getting direct downloads, or I'm opening myself to honest criticism, critiques, ridicule on, you're crazy. And that might all materialize. But I don't know what to do other than at least have the faith that something great can happen. So I'm choosing to believe that we're going to get through this. And so we're in a period right now of endurance. Like, this is the time of endurance. And the article that I'm working on this week, I just finished writing it, and it's going to be out hopefully Sunday if I can get it all edited, was the story of Ernest Shackleton. And I don't know if you guys know who that is, but Shackleton was one of the premier explorers in the early 1900s and was leading expeditions into the Antarctic. And there is a sea I think it's the Weddell Sea, that freezes and it becomes like part of the continent, because it, as the water, gets frozen, the landmass expands and gets greater. Well, at some point, the ice floes crush the ship that he and his crew is on, and they can't get free. So they are stuck. They are completely at the mercy of the wind and temperatures. And what people don't realize is that Shackleton and his crew, after the ship was claimed by the sea, goes down, effectively lived in Antarctica, in that patch of sea, for up to 22 months. Could you imagine 22 months of being wet and cold? And here's the kicker. Every one of his crewmen survived. Everyone that was on the Endurance ship. And the journey out, from sleeping and camping on ice floes that would open up, and if you didn't wake up in the middle of the night and just have the intuition to run and scramble and grab things, would have fallen through a chasm into the Black Sea, to having sea leopards coming out and attacking you, to getting to a tip and a point where they actually sailed to I guess the closest whaler's outpost was 800 miles, and it's on a sea that is it's considered the most dangerous sea in the world. And these little boats, these like lifeboats. So it's that story, in addition to many of the other things that we're talking about right now. Like, you want to talk about real endurance and real hope. Like, holy crap, if the wind doesn't blow this way, or if the ice doesn't pack this way, I'm stuck on this godforsaken piece of ice for nearly 2 years. And so it's one of those stories that just too few know. But it's another gut check. I did one like this, about 8 months ago on Richard Warren-Brandt, who's my personal hero. He's a martyr. But Shackleton's up there as well on, okay, Dave, you've had a tough 6 years, but you didn't have a Shackleton stuck in Antarctica for 22 months. Tough period. So that's the next offering that I'm going to try to put out this Sunday.
Well, Carla Ngolio says you both help to wake lots of people up and activate us. So, I mean, there is a recognition that, I mean, what we've done is we've met some incredible people. You said it. We've met some incredible people. And I don't, whether we're talking about the ship, which I want to read that. Hopefully you get it out soon. But it was a worthy 6 years. And we talk about the costs and was it worth it? You said chasing truth. I would actually bookend this and say it not only was worth it, but I think it taught you a lot. I think it taught me a lot. I think it taught us what peace really looks like. Like we actually know what peace would be, right? Because you know what peace isn't. so we've seen so much over 6 years that we have a pretty good idea. I think it expanded our wisdom, but also expanded our relationships. And I think that our trust in God has grown enormously. But I think that has happened to millions of people. And I think we dance first. And I think that that's worth it. Being where our brothers and sisters are. Again, that fact of endurance is and enduring pain. It's led to a better place, I think. Even if nothing works out and God has to come down and smite the whole place, we walked a good battle. We walked a good fight.
Amen.
How's the? Well, I wanted to ask how the family is, but I'll save that for after the show. How's the lawsuit against the university?
It's still going. There's a continuation of a hearing that we held in January. And for whatever reason, they waited all the way till August for the continuance of that same hearing. And the way that I look at it is, if I survive this hearing and probably another hearing down the road for summary judgment, which is what they will file. They want to make sure that this case doesn't get in front of a jury. Those are the 2 points of leverage. If I can survive them, then I wouldn't want to be in their shoes. But we're not there yet, so I'm still kind of in this place where I think I'm right on the law that it shouldn't be dismissed. They filed a motion to dismiss, effectively arguing that I'm outside of the statute of limitations because the university is a government entity. And normally, statute of limitations is much shorter for breach of written contract for government entities. It's 2 years instead of 6 years. But I found a case that says, no, your statute of limitations can't save you if you're violating public policy. And my claim from day one was that the forced jab mandates, mass mandates, violated the law, violated public policy, you name it, basically a violation of the Nuremberg Code. And so I've maintained that. And then number two, one of the things that really throws a monkey wrench into their calculation of when the statute of limitations should start and stop is this doctrine of fraudulent concealment. And one of the beautiful things that dropped in my favor was when Trump won in 2024 and appointed RFK Jr. to the head of Health and Human Services and the CDC, that they started disclosing all of the studies that were legitimate, that they fraudulently concealed, that supported the positions that I articulated from the get-go. Now, the beauty of this is the very, very agencies that told everyone that I was crazy, trust the science, safe and secure, the jabs are safe. If I would have filed this lawsuit initially, like right out the gate, someone could easily file this thing called a Rule 11, make a motion for Rule 11 sanctions. Basically, how dare this attorney file this lawsuit against us when the science has spoken? The CDC, the official government agencies of the United States, have said this is not an issue. And I could have potentially opened myself up to sanctions from the court, which would have been the tactic. And I know this for a fact because in elections, that's exactly what happened. So Sidney Powell and people like that, if they filed good faith lawsuits, they had sanctions applied against them. So the beauty of this is the very agencies that would have served as the catalyst for sanctions against me have now, because of fraudulent concealment and this doctrine of equity, have spoken out loud, which actually sets the clock as soon as that concealment was revealed, which was in 2025. So I'm well within the statute of limitations. But these are the arguments that we're having right now at a super annoying procedural level that they're going to try to keep me from being restored. And if I survive this August, I'll be sure to let you know. And
but you seem to be at peace with this. Like no matter what, you're like, yeah, it's fine. Like
yeah. Well, I'm fine either way. I didn't sue them because I need the job. I didn't sue them because I need the money. I didn't sue them for me. In fact, I opted not to look out for my career by doing the things that we've done over the past 6 years. Felt like God just told me to make the demand. That was it. So I had peace with the idea of, okay, all right, God, if you've got something that is going to happen down the road that I'm not aware of. And look, I filed before the election, so I didn't know that Trump was going to appoint RFK Jr. I didn't know that these things would culminate. So in some respects, I went in with just blinders on with faith. Okay, we'll try it. And my hope is that if I'm vindicated, it just opens the door for a bunch of other people to sue the pants off of whatever institution that they're at. And that would be a victory. So, I mean, like for me, like if I lose it, I'll have my ego hurt for about 24 hours and then you just got to move on.
I have a feeling though that you'd take it all the way to the Supreme Court if you had to.
Oh yeah, if I lose,
case, yeah.
Yeah, if I lose, I'll appeal it immediately. And to me, it's just an exercise in, I was a lawyer, I was a professor. Let's see if I can still deploy those chops in a way that makes it interesting for the other side. And right now, I guarantee you, when they saw my lawsuit, they laughed. Like, oh, we're going to get this thing dismissed in 3 weeks. And here we are almost a year in. I haven't gone anywhere. And and we've got some good things, I think, that are coming out. I mean, every time I really study what RFK Jr. is doing, the scandal just grows, which helps me in my fight.
You know what's interesting about this is that each one of the government entities is like an emperor with no clothes, and yet the public, the media, doesn't get to see much of it. You don't get to see what he's doing on the HHS's side. I mean, we have our own problems now on the DHS side, and the IRS is, I mean, frankly, is in the boondoggle. Like, I think it's almost a non-functioning entity at this point. It's the mistakes that they make at the IRS make it look like they're not even using a computer in order to come to any conclusion. They lose files, tens of thousands of files every day, and just massive issues across the board. And then we get to this part about elections. By the way, how much time do I have with you? Because I want to get your thought on some of the stuff happening in California.
I got to check out here in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have you back on so we can talk about some of this election stuff happening in California. But it's the I think there's more progress, and maybe I give you the next 5 minutes to talk about that progress. I think there's more progress. Obviously, I have my insiders in DC that I have. You obviously have insiders that you're talking to there as well. There's an appetite right now to destroy this evil, and yet the evil is still talking. You have the Kristen Welkers of the world that are saying, Mr. President, there's no proof. I'm thinking to myself, there's no interview long enough that I could give you, or I could put the proof out there in front of you, where you'd be able to digest it, number one, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that the hammer's about to drop. So let's use this time to speculate. Does it drop on Dominion Voting Systems, Eric Coomer, John Poulos on their head? I think it does. But does it? And if it does, who else does it take with him?
Yeah. So let's speculate. And, I have gone on record with my tinfoil cap that Trump initiated continuity of government in 2020.
Yeah.
And so that's forced me to look at things from a standpoint of, you set up stings. You have people double down in their lies. And we've certainly seen that. Shameless double down of all the fraudulent practices. But you have to wait for the world to see, and the world sees it. California. So one of the things that's interesting, when I started doing a deep dive into the world of Q, and I put out an article on that, just this idea of it being a modern participatory cipher. That's all it is. I mean, and people can ascribe whatever craziness to it that they want, but to walk past it and not understand it you're missing out. And one of the drops talks about watching California, specifically in elections. And so the fact of the matter is that the president and POTUS and all the election experts know that LA County is a Smartmatic county. Okay, so whether people think it's, again, an op that is worthy of consideration, what I can tell you right now, there is a drop that specifically points to California, watching it. And all we're doing right now, shocking, is watching California and their elections. So, it's one of those things where Spencer Pratt's campaign was fire. Like literally his home, burned to the ground in the Palisades, right? And his popularity, his polling now, it's like, I think it's been confirmed that he doesn't even make the runoff. Like, how did you go from this position of
number one in the polls, right? Number one in the polls.
To now, he doesn't even get to have the runoff, and you've got all the operatives in the Gavin Newsom, cartel that are saying, don't worry about it. We're going to keep counting. We're going to keep finding votes to count until problems solved from their end. And so it just comes down to one of those things where, as long as you have sufficient trust that Trump is a man of his word to prosecute these people, this is going to be, I think, the perfect catalyst for prosecutions. And then you've got them by the nuts in a good way, because it's so objectively bad. Then it's time to start tying loose ends and finding common threads to the architecture, which is really our expertise, which is, don't forget about that case in Fulton. Don't forget about what happened in Maricopa. Because once you understand, like we do, that the architecture is the same, you just walk it back. And so we need to get into that attitude, that place where we're we're grabbing heads and we're bashing them. And I think
Yeah.
California is the starting point for that.
No, I totally agree with you. I agree with you fully. And I think Eric Coomer testified in a grand jury indictment against President Trump in Georgia. And he's now done 4 depositions. And in those 4 depositions, he's basically lied and counteracted himself in all of those. And I think personally, he plays a really big part in the degradation of our election systems across the country over the last 20 years. That's my opinion. I believe that that's true. And everything that I've read and seen and all the evidence that I have pointing to different countries and some of the bad things that have happened in those elections, different countries, and his background, I'm not just convinced. I think the evidence is clear that if you were looking for kingpins, he'd definitely be among them.
I agree. Look, I've wargamed the idea of who gets to go into the tribunal military commission column, and those that might be more appropriate for a grain conspiracy case in Florida. You've got that's ongoing right now.
It's getting ready to drop. I mean, they're predicting the next couple of weeks. So
Coomer belongs in the commission column. It's a kingmaker. He's one of the hitmen because he knows. A lot of people may not be equipped to be put in the treason column, but he has to know because he's an architect. And all of the bad guys were relying on his architecture to carry out the cheat. So I can't wait. I mean, I want to get the popcorn for that, and it'll be beautiful.
Yeah, it will be. David, it's so good to see you. It is. Man, I was looking forward to seeing you in D.C. Good news is I am getting surgery sooner than later. I was supposed to have it last Thursday, but these guys all yell at me too. And Eric, everyone yells at me. Get it done, get it done, get it done. I got work to do.
Get it done, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But are you going to be in Las Vegas next week?
I am. You?
Okay. I will see you in Las Vegas.
Great. No, I'm looking forward to that. Juan is always a great guy to powwow with. He's got some really great insights.
Yeah. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you next week then. And thanks for joining us. Thank you for the last 6 years. More than anything else, thanks for being my brother.
Hey, right back at you. The brother's pen will ride again.
100%. We're going to have and we'll have these things that we'll be talking about in 10 years. We'll be sitting around with cigars, and if you smoke a cigar, cigars, and just telling stories about the 2-finger
death punch.
Death punch. Okay. All right. God bless you. It's good to see you. All right. Always good to have David on. We're going to go through a bunch of stuff related to what's happening in elections. I focus on elections, and yesterday, when I was sitting in the deposition, I can't remember how I said it, but basically, if I were, I started talking to Coomer's attorney, and Coomer on the other saying, you might as well just turn state's evidence. You might as well save yourself. And I believe that they need to. I did a thing last night where I was going through kind of how I feel. And I walked in this deposition, everyone's like, hey, Joe, it's, just be calm. And I thought to myself, I'm calm. I'm calm. Like, I don't have anything to not be calm about, right? I think the thing that irritates me the most is that we live in a place where people get hurt every day. We're going to talk, by the way, a little bit about the Carmelo Anthony case down in Texas, the division between whites and blacks. And is it really a division? And is the media just stoking those fires just like they did with George Floyd and creating a narrative that's just not true? And should they be responsible for that? Should they be responsible for other acts of violence that are created by the false narrative that's created by them? We're also going to talk about Jake Lang. There's some updates about him specifically. And the fact that the media and the left and the right have created winners and losers. They've created winners and losers with me, specifically. Oh, Joe's, he gets angry. Yeah, Yeah, I think righteous anger is probably a good way to put it. But it's because it's not a victimless crime. People have died, lost their lives. J6ers went to prison for a long time. We've allowed these lies to stand. And there was a video that I saw today about what happens when people get tired. What happens when black people get tired? What happens when brown people get tired and white people get tired? And I saw this and I was like, wow. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, and I'm in a lot of camps. White people have had enough. And I'm not talking about the liberal white people. I'm talking about normal white people that want to be left alone. Like, take me back to before 2020. If you wouldn't have, ran this scam on the American people, and I watched people lose their entire livelihoods, it would be different. I would have tolerated different levels of victimology and just done what I can to contribute. But now, no, I'm not game for this radical leftist, evil, demonic thing that you have going on. So we'll take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about my buddy Mark Cook a little bit and what's really happening in California with a bunch of other stuff. We'll be right back.
Oh, hi. I almost didn't see you there. Welcome to DCF Buns, where you can find the freshest buns in town, if I do say so myself. Our master bakers teach class every week. So whether you're new to baking or trying to improve your culinary skills, we got you covered. And we can help you bake the cake of your dreams. We'll even clean your cake if you want. And if you don't want to bake anything yourself, we have loads of fresh buns available in a variety of shapes and sizes. Check us out at dcfbuns.com to learn more. DCF Buns, we keep the buns hot and the deals hotter. Buns.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
So they'd say, oh, do you want to vote for Karen or Nithya? Or they just really just tell you to vote for Karen, huh?
It was really voting her, man.
Did you vote?
Yeah.
Oh, you did for Karen Bass?
Yeah.
Down here and try and pay you to vote?
Yes. Karen Bassett. Right.
Or
That's her last name, Bassett?
Karen Bass, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Nithya Raman?
Karen.
Karen? They told you to vote for Karen?
Yeah. They had to sign a little thing.
And how much they pay you?
It was like $2.
$2? Oh, to sign off on a thing to vote for her?
Yeah.
Or on a ballot?
Yes.
Oh, how much they pay you?
$5.
Oh, and they said, here, come and vote for these candidates?
Yes, sir.
They told you who to vote for?
Yes.
Wow. So they told you to vote for Karen Bass or Nithya Raman?
Karen Bass.
Did you vote for Karen Bass?
Yeah.
For $5?
Yeah.
They gave you an optional choice, but they tell you who they want you to vote for.
Or they tell you who you want to vote for? It's like, yo, we'll give you $2, but you got to vote for one of these people.
Well, I'm a barterer, man. So I got $4.
You got what?
$4.
$4?
$4.
Oh, you got...
Yeah, I don't. Since I'm voting your way, can I get a plate? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good.
And so $4, they're like, hey, you got to vote for one of these candidates, not Spencer. You do Karen or Nithya.
Yeah, well, it was that was Bass one for me. I mean, that was the one I was suggested for. I don't give a fuck.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
And you're like, yo, give me $4 and I'll do it.
Yeah, why not? Sure.
And so they do this for everybody out here?
Yeah, they come out here all the time.
How often do they come down here?
Probably like 3 times a week.
3 times a week?
Hell,
To
yeah.
get the ballots?
Yep.
Wow. And so you know other people too that voted too?
Actually, anybody that's registered,
Yeah.
half the motherfuckers down there on parole or probation, but you know how it is. You know.
Man. crazy. I see people living
Life
out.
is today, man.
What happened?
The way it is down here now.
Whew. That's the election system. You know, you could clean it all up across the entire country pretty quickly. It'd take no time at all. Paper ballots in person, stand in line, make sure you have a valid ID. You have to be an American citizen. I mean, think about that. Think about this. They can just go, I mean, it's just not, do you think they're out ballot grabbing $2 things and telling people who to vote for? You think they're doing that because it doesn't influence the outcome of elections? We know it does. And we know that there's fake ballots and people showing up with crates of ballots 2-3 days later, counting them for 2 weeks. Just so we're all clear, there's a precinct strategy for voting across the entire country. It's part of HAVA, Help America Vote Act. I mean, it's critical infrastructure. It was created that way during the Obama administration. Like, this is, but most people don't understand what I'm saying. You don't understand the concept behind what's happening in our elections. And it's the most retarded thing I've ever seen in my life. The fact that they could argue that this would suppress somebody's vote by having a system that's both transparent and obvious to get an outcome the day of the election. It blows my mind that we're even having a conversation about the fact that we have to find ballots, or that, you know, that it takes 2 weeks to count. It's counting ballots, you freaking retards. Or yesterday when I'm in the deposition, and he goes, "Well, you don't have any experience in this." Yeah, I built a complex system that that literally can create an outcome, a propensity and probability value for what people are likely to do next. I understand hashing, and I understand how to actually create algorithms, real ones. And by the way, algorithm is another word for, if you code, you're building algorithms, period. End of story. And they act as if this is some sort of secret handshake, that it's that complicated. It's not that complicated. For the people in the very back of the room, it's not complicated to build an election system. We've been doing it for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years. And we didn't have these type of messes where, yeah, you had people in Chicago that would buy lunch money. You come in, you get $50, you vote the way they want you to vote. Of course you had election fraud, 100%. But it was limited to like 1%, 2%. It was localized. And we can talk about what happened in the Midwest, where they, you know, people came back from the war and they stormed the courthouse, shot it up, and said, "Give us the ballots. You're not getting out alive." That was people in the community that did that. That happened in our country in the 60s. Or was the 50s? 50s, in the 50s. We lack courage to fight against the ridiculous. Our election systems are garbage. Our election systems are completely 100% fabricated from end to end. There's no election system that we have in our country that is legitimate, safe, and secure elections. Those are dog whistles, kind of like, you know, being an anti-Semite or Islamophobe or any of the other dog whistles that they use in order to control our communities. We should reject them wholly. We should reject the idea that we have illegals that basically can get entitlements while we step over our veterans, while we step over people who are American. Black, white, green, yellow, purple, I don't care. If you're an American, you deserve the entitlements if you need them. If you need to help up, you should get that. Well, right now, that just goes to Muslims to steal over here while actually having 4 or 5 wives, violating the rules of our entire society. We sit back and we watch it happen. But you're an Islamophobe. No, I'm not. I'm not an Islamophobe. I'm not an anti-Semite. I'm none of those things, right? And your dog whistles, I reject and say, fuck you. You don't get to call me anything. You have the Anti-Defamation League. You have all these different organizations. And they get to dictate to us who people are. And the radical left and the people on the right that are a part of this system, this CIA, whatever you want to call it, intelligence operation to steal the sovereignty of our communities and our country, to wreak chaos and weaponize stupid people, because that's what really it is, we're just supposed to tolerate it. I want you to look at this. This is a post that was put up by Mark Cook about the mail-in ballots, the fatal flaw in mail-in ballots that makes voter verification impossible. So this was put up by Mark. From the exact moment a mail-in ballot envelope is received, there is no possible way for anyone or any technology to determine who or what actually filled out the ballot. The single fact destroys the foundation of mail-in voting. The signature on the outer envelope, consistently promoted as a primary security measure, verifies absolutely nothing about who marked the votes inside the ballot. It cannot confirm that the registered voter filled out the ballot, cannot even confirm whether a real eligible voter had any involvement whatsoever. The ballot and signature could have both been produced by a third party or machine with zero legitimate voter involvement, and the system has no ability to detect it. The failure exists immediately upon receipt. The system was designed in a broken state. The rapid separation of ballots from their envelope is often used to dismiss later concerns, yet this misses the central truth. There was never any way to verify the voter to begin with. The signature verification and ballot separation are nothing more than security theater. We have all been lied to. Election officials, legislators, and the American people have been repeatedly told that mail-in ballots are secure. The claim is demonstrably false. This becomes even more alarming when viewed through the lens law enforcement uses to evaluate serious crimes: motive, means, and opportunity. The motive: total political power over 330 million Americans, control of trillions of government spending, meaning a system that is structurally incapable of verifying who or what casts any given ballot. The opportunity: mass mail-in ballots aggressively expand across the entire country. When all three align under our elections, the highest value target in the republic's exploitation is not a risk, it's a certainty. And it's already happened. In Mesa County, Colorado, former postal workers Vicki Lynn Stewart was sentenced to 5 years in prison in June of 2025 for stealing ballots, forging voter signatures, and fraudulently submitting mail-in ballots during the 2024 election. In Iowa, Kim Fong Taylor was convicted on 52 counts of voter fraud and forging signatures on absentee ballots belonging to other people. California, former Lodi County Councilman Shakir Khan was sentenced to 3 years in jail after authorities discovered dozens of completed mail-in ballots at his home. These proven cases confirm a system is being actively exploited right now, not because of design. Yet, because of its design, we have no idea how large the fraud actually is, because the true scale is completely undetectable and immeasurable. This is a clear and present danger to the republic. And if you want, and I'm not going to read anymore, you can read this. We'll put it up there so you can read it. But it basically goes through massive mail-in ballots is creating national suicide. This system, anywhere it's been used in the country, in the world, has created a near certain outcome that favors the radical left and or this diminished or degraded society that we faced here in our country now. Mark goes through and talks about the call to action to get rid of mail-in ballots. And normally you would have this idea that people support that. In large part, the SAVE Act was about getting rid of mail-in ballots. But you can't get people like Thune or others, even Mike Johnson. You can't get him to actually do the things that are necessary in order to protect the American people. You think it would be possible, but it's not possible because the American people don't matter. Even though 82% actually favor it, the people, the power that be in Congress said, no, we're your daddy. We know what's best for you. So they're fighting against it. What's happened now is that there's an obvious friction that's being created. But while they do that, you have the media and the CIA. And let's be very clear on who the CIA is, right? These are innate actors that work for an established group of people, a power structure. These are the same power structures that were able to have these conversations with Jeffrey Epstein. I will go to my grave saying this: Steve Bannon being good friends with a pedophile and saying, "Hey, let me help you," while he stays in all of his places and literally plans the demise of President Trump during his first administration, downright to having conversations with him about how to manipulate certain people inside of Washington. How do you trust a guy like that? How do you trust Sharona Bishop, who calls herself the America's mom, who everyone says, she's everywhere you're not supposed to be? How do you trust a person that uses Tina's likeness and raises money on Tina's behalf and then keeps all of the money and stuffs her face with it? How do you round that corner? And everybody wants to forgive people and wants to say Joe Oltmann, he's talking about stuff he doesn't need to be talking about. But I've just spoken truth. I haven't done anything but speak the truth. And I haven't done, and have I done it with a little bit of vigor? Yes, I have. And do I think that's helped? I do. I think the work that I've done over the last 6 years stands for itself. The fact that I'm willing to go and get sued and be attacked and to go through the things that me and my family have dealt with for the last 6 years is grounds for itself. It speaks for itself. Now, there's some other people that we're going to have a conversation with, but I want to, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, but I want to talk about the fact that there's a level of we're done that you have never seen before. And I'm going to tell you that the beat stick, the slave drivers, the people that keep us in line is a system that is designed to destroy everything that we are. They don't care if they violate your rights. They don't care if they write you a ticket for something that they know it'll get dismissed later. The process is the punishment. They can do whatever the hell they want because we're willing to tolerate it. But when we finally do snap back, and you have these people, these power structures, these judges that people are taking into account, they're writing down names. Sooner or later, it's going to come back and it's going to bite them. And when it does, it'll be with such fury, they won't survive it. They will not survive it. And that's the fear that they have now of a person like me, is Joe rises the temperature on the people that should be held accountable. Eric Coomer, John Poulos, Dominion Voting Systems, and even people that are in government that betrayed President Trump in the first presidency, such as the Secretary of State, or Bill Barr, or some of the people that were in his cabinet that did real damage, or the people that are in Congress that frankly have stood in the way of progress and stopped the American people from having free and fair elections. It's pretty obvious at this point. I want you to see this. This is in Ireland. This is in Ireland. I want you to pay attention to what is being done in this video. Go play.
I'm dead. He's just killed him. Hurry up. He's dead. He's completely dead. Yeah, no, no. No, he's not. Has he got a knife? Yeah. Get off him, you rat. Yo! He's cutting him. He's cutting him. He's trying to cut his head off. He's mate. Hurry up. Hurry up. He's slicing his head off here. Hurry up. The fuck. Hurry back. Come on, bastard. Come on. Get him. Quick. Kill him. Get him down! Let him go down! Now hit time on it! Yes! Yes! Stand up! Stand up! Where's your cops? Where's your cops? Back off! Back off! Back off! Bro! Quick! Get off! No! Bro, get off! Quick! He's trying to cut his head off. Bro. I can't cut him in the head. He's trying to cut his head off! He's just bastard here! He's just together! He's trying.
Now let's re-examine this video for a minute. You have a diminished capacity individual that got attacked by an illegal. True story. They got attacked by an illegal, tried to cut his head off. They're beating the guy with a shovel. And they're watching it happen, saying, do something, do something, do something. So people go and do something, and and those people almost got arrested. And more importantly, the guy survived it. But the crime that they tried to convict or to charge the guy with was for assault. He tried to cut the guy's head off. He doesn't deserve to be in the country. We have entire states that are filled with these monsters that have destroyed our society. And you could say, oh, Joe, that's racist. It's not. It's not racist. It's not racist when the damage is being done to Americans and then we have to foot the bill for it. And then you have judges that put them back on the street 30, 40, 50 times that really do damage to the people in our community. The 22-year-old that was knocked off a bike by an illegal that was here during the Biden deal that then got just sent back without any sort of punishment. But then Americans get 10, 12, 15, 20 years. They throw the book at them. This is in Ireland. Now I want to show you this. The people of Ireland, man, you have no idea. And what there was going on there is going to come to the United States. Because at a certain point, Americans will get to the point where they'll get a case of the effits. You know what those are? The effits are the F it. They're going to get, we're almost there. I mean, we're almost there. We're almost to the place where we have no respect for the system because the system is trash. It's already betrayed us. It's already shown its head to be, hey, they're going to give this guy that's a murderer a $250,000 bail, give another guy $1 million bail or $1.2 million. They're going to make the punishment so great, and they're going to create all sorts of obstacles so that they can win while destroying every single thing that's in front of us. I want you to see this. This is riots that are happening in Belfast, and it's bad. Play it.
Running for their lives. Immigrant families targeted in East Belfast in one of the worst nights of violence seen in Northern Ireland in over a decade. Police resources heavily stretched as chaos unfolded on the streets. The protest began shortly before 7 p.m, with many turning violent instantly. This was the scene on the Newton Ards Road, where a glider bus was hijacked and set alight. Just a short distance away, cars and homes were torched, with many of the residents fleeing for their lives. Elsewhere, in Cloughfern, close to 800 people gathered where they hijacked cars and threw petrol bombs at police. These were the scenes off the Crumlin Road in the north of the city. It was here that masked men swept through the streets, setting cars alight and torching homes. Police responded, but on most occasions, it was too late to save property. The fire service said that it dealt with 256 calls. This resulted in attendance at 62 separate incidents. The fear is that violence could continue to run for several nights.
It's not going to run for several months. It's going to run until they throw out the people that have betrayed them in their own country. This betrayal is in every country, by the way, because it's these groups of people at the top that have gone across the entire globe and created this cancerous, endemic feature that creates prisoners in their own homes. It's a violation of the 14th Amendment. It's a violation of the 4th Amendment. We should not have to house soldiers. And you could say, well, they're not soldiers, they're illegals. And I was like, what's the difference? They get all the benefits they get to take from us. They get to live within our home. They get to take all of these things from us. And you want to say, well, you don't have a bleeding heart for them. I have a bleeding heart for my American brothers and sisters. The inner cities are filled with people who have no opportunity. Their education system completely garbage. 1 in 1,000, 1 in 1,000,000, 1 in 5,000,000 gets to get an adequate education, because education is no longer about education. It's about cutting off your penis and grooming you to be a part of an LGBTQ thing. And I don't care if you're gay. That has nothing to do with this. It has everything to do with the fact that you're creating a victim mentality in schools that is making it much, much worse. And that weakening of that institution has led to the criminal just elements being able to run rampant all over us. And that criminal element is our leaders who were selected, not elected. And if what I'm saying is so untrue, then leave social media alone. Allow the voice of people like me and other people to just be spoken and see if people resonate with that voice, which you can't. You got to use ADL and you got to use all these other people, the SPLC, which was just convicted of creating hate crimes out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, they just create them because if you don't have the supply of hate crimes, then you can't. You got to meet the demand. You got to create a new supply. You got to create them out of thin air because you got to make sure that people are in that fight and you have justify who you are. It's like the boogeyman in the closet. That's what our society has become. And we've let it happen. We've let these evil demons run rampant on us. And we know they're not truthful. But a certain part of us wants it to be true so that we can actually believe that these power structures aren't just evil to the core, but they are. Here's a video that this is the second day in a row. Just pick this up. This is happening in Belfast now. Play it. They're relying on people in the United States not getting to this point. There's a lot of people that are at this point. And you can tell because if you look at what's happening down in Texas with the Austin Metcalf deal, this is unbelievable. You have people, you have black people showing up that are saying that it's a justified killing. I have friends on my Facebook page who are black that are saying, oh, it's we can't trust the system. And I ask simple questions. I go, did you watch the trial? And they're like, no. So you're just coming to this conclusion that this murderer should walk the streets because he's black? That's your answer? And he goes, well, the system's rigged. It's not in this case. It's pretty cut and dry. There was 6 minutes, 6 minutes from the time that that Carmelo Anthony entered the tent and the killing of Metcalf. 6 minutes. It was premeditated. He brought a knife to do damage. He plunged the knife into another young man, ends his life, gets out on $250,000 in bail, of which they GoFundMe because they set up a story that's not even true. But it doesn't matter what truth is because we can't even get to the truth about elections. We can't get to the truth about anything. Jeffrey Epstein walks the streets. People like him are allowed to do whatever they want. It's insane what we deal with today. It's insane. And most of the little talking heads that are out there talk to you like this. Oh, in other news, this is what's happening, hoping that they can sway you, but do so with such passive-aggressive discipline that you don't really know how you feel when it's done. You certainly don't know what to do. I want you to see this. This is Austin Metcalf's father delivering a powerful message straight to his son's murderer after rightfully, Carmelo Anthony should have gotten life in prison, but he got 35 years. Let's go ahead and play it.
Protests erupting outside of a Texas courthouse after 19-year-old Carmelo Anthony was sentenced to 35 years in prison for the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf at that 2025 high school track meet. Now, following the sentence, Metcalf's father delivered an emotional statement to Anthony. We were robbed. This was never about race. It is about right and wrong. My son's death destroyed the person I used to be. He does not exist anymore. You're going to prison. I forgave you the day it happened. I don't forgive you. Don't forgive what you did. You can't look at me in the eyes, but you can stab my effing son. Let's bring in Fox News contributor.
His life doesn't matter because he's white. You're creating a race war. You're creating a war, frankly, where the blood is boiling and people that have generationally bled for this country. You know, giving 6 years over the last 6 years, you know why I did it? Because service takes on a whole different, it doesn't matter if you're on the beaches of Normandy or you're protecting this country today from foreign or domestic enemies. If you have an obligation to stand up, if you have accomplished anything, if you've been given access to opportunity and you came from where I came from, or from, even if you came from a good neighborhood and you happen to do even better than what came before you, that opportunity was because of blood that was spilled generations before. That butterfly effect gave you that opportunity. And for them to steal it from future generations, you have an obligation to protect it for those people. Jake Lang was outside And we played a video of people saying that only good cracker is a dead cracker. And you have this new Black Panthers that are out there saying, if it doesn't go the way it's supposed to, there's going to be blood. But the only person that got arrested was a guy that has been very controversial. I mean, and I will tell you, Jake Lang is controversial. He has said things I wouldn't say. He's done things I wouldn't do. But what he's standing up for is for Americans. And here's the hard part about it. Everyone wants, Joe, here's what I want you to do. You need to do it this way. You're trying to control the individual who's in the fight. And what Jake Lang has done is he said, there are no rules. This is war. I'm going to guerrilla my way through it. And he says some things that are, I mean, he's got himself arrested now like 7 or 8 times. No matter where he goes, he gets arrested. This one was a little different, though. Jake is again behind bars. And this time, he's charged with making terroristic threats, for saying the jury didn't find Carmelo Anthony guilty, that Jake would take care of it himself. He didn't say what he was going to do. He just said he'd take care of it himself. I don't agree with that statement. But like the father in Oklahoma, whose daughter, you have a guy that was out on bail, a 63-year-old or 62-year-old man with a 14-year-old little girl in his car, and a dad, the system was supposed to work, and it didn't work because the media got involved and they did all this stuff. That guy was charged with second-degree murder. They had to drop the case because the police department, the DA, hid evidence, lost camera footage on purpose because they wanted to get him charged. It's crooked. The system is crooked. You got a dead 17-year-old young man, but because it's white, it's okay. Because he said that he said something, it's okay. He can make it up. None of the evidence of the people that were there backs up any part of Carmelo Anthony's statements of what happened. So Jake says that in a real world, it wouldn't matter. And you could say, I don't like Jake Lang. And I'm like, okay, you don't have to like Jake Lang. But Jake Lang is talking for the frustration that's out there, and maybe in a way that you don't like it. I don't like the fact that you slam a Quran with bacon. I don't agree with it. I wouldn't do it. Just like I wouldn't disrespect the Hindus or Sikhs, or I wouldn't do any of that. Muslims, Christians, Jews, I defend them all for their ability to have their religion. I wouldn't ridicule another religion like that ever. I just wouldn't do it. I'm just not that guy. But what he's saying is even deeper, and that is we are fundamentally in a lawless society, and he didn't have confidence it was going to get out. But the other guys that were standing there saying, I'm going to kill you, doing all the things, attacks, no, they didn't arrest one person. People that were attacked there, you have video of it. The police didn't arrest one person, but they did hunt down Jake Lang. Here's a call from Jake Lang in jail. This is disturbing.
Hey guys, it's Jake Lang here. I'm in the Dallas County Jail. They ripped me off the plane today. Dozens of officers treating me like El Chapo. They drove me through the tarmac. They've arrested me for a felony, what's called terroristic threat, simply because I said that if the jury did not find Carmelo Anthony guilty, that we the people will deal with justice. And this is a classic case of lawfare used to squash a First Amendment protester like myself. We had a press conference, an LED truck, speaker system, everything for our 6:30 press conference event outside the Carmelo Anthony murder trial to celebrate justice being done in this case and call out the rest of the American people to stand with us before another Rena Zaruski and another Austin Metcalf happens to make real change. And they shut down my voice. They arrested me. They're holding me here, probably on an exorbitant bond. I'm going to see the judge in the morning. So please, guys, go to my Gifts and Go account, donate some money to help me get out of here. I'll be stuck here for months in solitary confinement if I don't make bond. This is two-tiered persecution against
This call will be terminated in 2 minutes.
the white people of this world. We are under attack, and what they're doing to me, they want to do to all of us. I'm just at the forefront here. The lawfare and the weaponized DOJ and these deep state assets want to destroy us all. We cannot allow it to happen. If they do this to me, they can do it to you. Please, guys, stand up. We can't allow our good brothers like Chud, myself, and other great patriots to rot away in prison. Let's get me and my brothers home. God bless you guys. Thank you so much. I love you. And keep the faith. This fight is in the Lord's hands, and we will be victorious.
So let's just kind of recap. This is all happening in Dallas. Carmelo Anthony was charged with first-degree murder. His bond, he killed a young man. He had to go home and play PlayStation and just hang out. His parents were able to buy a home with money that they collected. Nobody stood in the way of any of that happening, by the way. They didn't put out $1 for their defense. Not one. It was all paid for by people who, frankly, want to see another white kid die. Most of it was done through nonprofits. You know, these seem LGBTQ community organizations. They funded it. The ADL funded it. They all funded it. And I don't know if it's ADL directly, but the ADL, those types of disgusting people who live a life and create an entire industry based on hate and creating the situation with Carmelo Anthony by creating this race war that, man, we thought we defeated in my era, my generation. First degree murder, $250K. Jake Lang for saying that the people would handle it, and the people will handle it. Just so you know, people are tired. If someone hurts my children, you don't think that I'm gonna do whatever it takes? You think I give a crap about going to jail? You think I give a crap about losing my life? I don't care. I could care less. Whoever did that's gonna pay. And you could say, well, Joe, you can't say that. Yes, I can. Because I definitively already made the decision. Just like if someone comes to my home to do harm, I've already made the decision on what I'm gonna do. The decision's made. I don't need to think about it. I've already trained for it. I understand exactly what I'm gonna do. And the American people are getting to where they are in Ireland. We're strangers in our own home, have to run away from the police that stand there and watch the antagonization that happens. And then when you strike back, the police arrest you and let them do what they've done. Any good cracker's a dead cracker. Guy said that. And if we get outside of Dallas, Texas, I'm gonna take care of you. Threatening people's lives. Carmelo Anthony's family threatening the lives of others, saying that they would also stab someone that walked in it. That was on a video yesterday. It's crazy. Any of those people get arrested? No. $250,000 for Carmelo Anthony. Jake Lang's bond was set in the same court, same state, $1 million. $1 million, First Amendment right, says what we were all thinking. $1 million. $1 million. And it's the value of the life that they don't care about. And the fact is, they do want to shut him up. I actually, again, you cannot agree with how he does certain things. You cannot agree, but the guy has literally gone to jail 6 times. He's been pro-ICE, stood up for what's right. I mean, look, he does it probably the wrong way. Hitting a Quran with bacon, I cannot get behind it. I don't agree with it. I think it's disgusting. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. But yet, he has a right to talk just like the Black Panthers do when they talk, and these other people that come out there and say that they're gonna attack white people. I carry a gun everywhere I go because I'm under threat of radical leftists. I got another message on social media. A guy saying that he's watching me, right? I said, send me a picture just so I know. But no. I'm the problem. Jake's the problem. The system is broken. It's broken. Now, Sean Strickland. I'm going to say this because I said it the other day. Sean Strickland said that he was banned from the White House because he criticized Netanyahu. I went back and watched a bunch of videos. Sean Strickland didn't just criticize, Netanyahu. He criticized President Trump and made up stuff. He went as far as to get back on the radical left side of, that President Trump somewhere along the line is a deviant. He's not. President Trump has always dated beautiful women, but they were always women. They were always of age. He's always done things under the radar. He's never done anything. He admits his mistakes when he was talking about the five in the park in New York that raped that woman, and he got it wrong. He said he got it wrong. I mean, the guy's just taking responsibility for everything. He's like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I shouldn't do that, but I'm going to. That's President Trump. That's the guy that walks through the front door, has an immense amount of courage, is immensely good at business. And Sean Strickland wanted to get on the side of that somewhere along the line that President Trump piddled children. Not true. No, it is true that you have Jeffrey Epstein hanging out with people like Steve Bannon, but he's still the good guy, right? And no, I don't like Steve Bannon. I don't like that fat, disgusting piece of garbage. And I don't care if you like that I'm saying that or not. Anyone that would hang out with Jeffrey Epstein so they could use all of his stuff and then have these secret conversations about doing horrible things to President Trump or, trying to soft coup. Let's say soft coup from our side. I can't get behind that. That's a disgusting individual that is like a Brutus. Only he got kicked out. President Trump finally found out. He's like, all right, get rid of this guy. I can't get behind him. I can't. But Sean Strickland, I can't get behind him either. Because, the more I read about this stuff, the more I was like, man, maybe I should have gone and got more information. And the stuff he says about President Trump that I know fundamentally is not true. How do I know that? Well, I mean, they've called me anti-Semitic. They've said all this stuff about me. I'm going to have an opinion about bombing Lebanon. I have friends in Lebanon. I was there, met with Mohammed Hussein Falala, head of the Hezbollah. I was in a room in an underground destroyed area and got to listen to the man speak before he died. So I have a connection to the Middle East. I was also in Israel several times. I have family in Israel. I'm in conflict with the idea that if I don't stand for humanity, I got to pick a side. But I'm not going to say that going into Lebanon and bombing out churches and doing really horrible things, that's somewhere along the line, that's justification because we're in Iran. Oh, but while we're there, let's just go bomb the hell out of it and destroy another country just because we said so. I can't get behind it. But I can't get behind Strickland either. And I'm not a pro-Zionist. I'm not a Zionist. I'm none of those things. I'm a guy that has spent years in the Middle East and Africa and seen things that most of you on here have never seen. You've never seen it. You've never experienced the culture or people there and loved all of them equally while recognizing that there's a conflict. And when you create a victimology behind the people of Israel, which that has happened, with an excuse of, well, we had the Holocaust, so we get to treat people badly, which is not true. It's not true. You don't get to do what you did. You don't get to use that as a beating stick for going out and killing indiscriminately women and children inside of Lebanon, or even some of the bombings that have happened inside of Iran. We can't get to a peace deal because you can't get to peace because the peace deal, you can't get there. Because the truth is that Bibi doesn't want to get there. He wants us to be at war. It is good for him to be at war because he is aligned with President Trump, and let's just wipe out President Trump once and for all. It is literally reverse Uno. And it's in real time, you can see it. But here's Dana White talking about Sean Strickland and giving us a little bit of truth that it took me, I had to dig to find this. So play it.
Sean Strickland is banned from humanity, okay? We don't want him near any human beings anywhere. He shows up in power slap, he starts fights, and he made it very clear that he didn't want to be a part of this event, and now apparently he's banned. Nobody is banned, nobody's music is banned, no media members have been banned. This is obviously a very unique event where, first of all, there's only so much room. There's only 4,300 tickets to actually, literally nobody has been banned from this event. I saw something today on social media that said Diego's music was banned. That's the song he's walking out to.
All right, there you have it. And if you want to know a person that cares less about something than me, it's probably Dana White. He could care less. He could care less. He could absolutely care less about any of it. Here's what I'm telling you. Even I get it wrong. I thought Sean Strickland was a legitimate guy until I went and just did all this stuff, and then I was like, all right, maybe he's still a legitimate guy. But he did the same thing. He went out and found stuff about President Trump and said, okay, this is true. President Trump's a bad guy. President Trump's not a bad guy. President Trump there's no part of him that's a bad guy. Has he done bad things in his life? Well, I don't know. Have you? Have you done things that you regret? See, I count them when I talk on the show. Have you done bad things that you regret? But, oh, I'm sorry. You want President Trump to hold that scarlet letter. You want to do it with untruths, not the things that have really happened in his life. Oh, he's been married multiple times. Okay, got it. Yep, he has. He was a playboy. Yep, sure was. He said, I'm going to grab him, that they'll let anybody of influence just grab him by the, you know what. It's true. It's true. He didn't say anything that was untrue, but they turned it into this pink hat wearing victimology where they created a narrative that wasn't true. Everywhere you turn around, it's the narrative that's not true. And you know that those are the most powerful voices. So I'm going to give you a little bit of advice. They can say what they want about me. They've said it. I did a whole video over this guy, Elliot, who runs a jiu-jitsu gym in Castle Rock, who we helped do some work for, that I donated $20,000 to his basketball camp. And the check, he said I just called a check or texted a check on it because I didn't know if he got the check at one of his at that gym. And we talked a little about this yesterday. And I got a call Monday, and he starts it out with, "Look, I'm going to keep this short. You're an anti-Semitic piece of shit." Man, I got to tell you something. It would have had to have been a phone call. It would have had to have been a phone call. And then, but I was gracious until after I got off the call. I sent him a bunch of text messages, and he said he was going to rip up the check that when he gets the check for the $5,000. But he used the same tropes that they put out there in order to come after me for being anti-Semitic. A guy that is very thoughtful, thinks things through, does believe that the synagogue of Satan are evil, faithless, godless people that say that they're Jewish, that hide behind the Jewish people. I believe that is true. And it's in the Bible, Revelations 2:9, Revelations 3:9. And if you're a Christian and you run away from one part of the Bible because you're afraid of it, because it might just offend someone that then is going to call you an anti-Semite, then one, you're not a Christian, and two, you're not a truth seeker, and you're not an ethical person. Period. There is no second part of this. By the way, if you don't like the way I pronounce words, also, don't give a shit, okay? I don't care. So I'm going to address that too. I got text messages from someone, sorry, I don't want to hear it, right? You think you want to take shots at me for the fact that I didn't say a word correctly? I don't care. I don't care what you think about what I do and don't say when it comes to words. I'm from the East Coast, goes to the West Coast, and I promise you'll have a difference across the board. And if you don't like the fact that I mispronounce a word, just so you know, I grew up in the hood. I didn't go to Harvard. And if you don't like it, tough shit. We have created an environment where we are afraid to call out the bad people. We allow the media to create a narrative. We're willing to take shots at anybody we want because we're the moral authority, and we don't stand behind the people that are telling the truth. That's the reality of where we are. That's the reality. And every time people get caught, it's just maybe they'll actually do the right thing. You got a Supreme Court justice in Colorado that stepped down, and the entire judiciary in the Supreme Court of Colorado, which is rotted to the core, literally hid the information of Melissa Hart, a Supreme Court justice of Colorado, hid the information of her committing crimes, did not report it, Did not sanction, didn't do anything. They covered up for it. Well, we also have this. So this is endemic for all of the judiciary. It's a cartel of really evil people with a sprinkling of good judges in between it. A sprinkling. Because they're obviously, if there was any good ones in Colorado, they would have stood up and said, Melissa Hart is a drunk who ran into a bunch of cars, did a bunch of damage, dog bit it, police basically let her walk on a failure to appear. The Christopher Gregory case wouldn't exist, bribes that were paid. You wouldn't have all this stuff swept under the rug, including the AUSA, who, by the way, his name's Kevin Trasco. He was married to Melissa Hart, who was a Supreme Court justice, who covered up the Christopher Gregory case. We wouldn't have this. But let's talk about what happened in Utah. This happened, and we talked about this Justice Diane Hagan, who just resigned, but gets full benefits, by the way. So no harm, no foul. She voted to redistrict Utah and add another Democrat seat. She resigned because she allegedly had an affair with a lawyer working on redistricting. This is a low-life Supreme Court justice in Utah. Last week we talked about a judge having sex with a police chief in her chambers. This is a person that literally had an affair with a lawyer that pitched her on the idea that they needed to redistrict. Had to resign. It looks, by the way, similar to the Marie Avery Moses, the piece of trash judge in Colorado who did a sua sponte and basically illegally went back and gave Eric Coomer's lawyers a bite at the apple, which started this whole thing over the last 6 years. That marched in an Antifa rally, who put up a poster board of how if George Floyd was her son, that she'd burn the entire country down. That was the judge in Coomer's case, by the way, who was just freshly appointed by Polis. My patience grows thin, and yet it grows thin in some of the stupid that we have to deal with, but it grows in the idea that I'm pretty sure that the American people are done putting up with it. I think you are. I am. Oh, there you go. Dave will bring you calm to the storm we are going through. May God bless you and Joe on all the steps you're both, and we'll take this journey. Wrangler, thank you for that. According to Bezmenov, we're probably already in the destabilization phase of the subversion process. Demoralization already appears complete. Diamond Clarity, I think you're probably a little bit right, but I will say, if I can, I will question this. There's a spirit in America that does not exist anywhere in the world, because we forged this country. Like in modern time, if you go back in the 1600s and 1700s and 1800s, that was a forging of our country. It was like a landscape that wasn't there. And yeah, Native Americans got pushed into certain places and they got conquered. That happened. And to this day, they got conquered. I mean, it's like the Vikings got conquered. And is it right? I don't know. What was right in the 1600s and 1700s worked. And I'm not saying it works today. I frankly think that Native Americans should have their part of society that is not riddled with drugs and prostitution and the trafficking of their women and children there. I think that we probably should do something about it, even though we're not doing anything about it. But, and not turning it into basically a casino land, which is what we've done, an opportunity for people inside of government to make money on the Native Americans, on their backs again. Yeah, the Muslim cult is not a religion. They are taking our American, hiding in their mosque central compounds with armored, marrying 9-year-olds and Sharia law. Need them out. Okay, just so you know, that's not everyone in the Muslim faith. It's just not. It's not. It's not. And so you say it's not a religion. You don't get to say what is a religion isn't a religion. I don't have to like it. I don't support it. I don't believe in it. Right? I don't at any point. But you don't get to make that decision. You don't get to make that decision. There are people that say that Catholics aren't Christian and that Mormons aren't Christian and everyone is now you know what? The non-denominational church is the Christians out there and everyone else is you just throw them out. I won't do it. I won't do it. And I won't demonize an entire group of people that grew up in that particular deal. I found many, many, many Muslims who are followers of Jesus. Many. Some of the most educated out there, some of the most religious scholars out there that say that they're Muslim or that are that grew up in Islam, that follow and love Jesus. So I don't agree with you. So this is, again, if we can't disagree, then maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the bad guy. But the reality of it is I spent time there. I've studied it. And not most of you have not studied it. I have. And so you're welcome to study it and then come back and have a conversation with me. But you don't get to stand on the sideline and say, because some pastor, someone said that it's not a religion, that it's not a religion. Sorry, Gammy, I'm going to disagree with you. And I can still also say that CARE is a terrorist organization for sure, 100%. CARE is 100% Muslim Brotherhood terrorist organization, closely tied to the ADL, by the way, just so we're all clear. The ADL and the CARE and all these other organizations tied to extremism, they're all in bed together, all of them, all of them. And America is suffering. Chris says she studied the Quran a little bit in college. Awesome, so did I. All right, we're done today. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. Somebody didn't like my whiteboard, said that I need better handwriting. Okay. If you missed the forest through the tree about the lawlessness and the fact that it's a millstone on the people's neck or on chest, I can't help you, right? But these are the retarded comments that I have to deal with on an ongoing basis. And you're welcome to have any opinion that you want. Frankly, go out and start a podcast. Become a podcaster. I personally have been leaning back into technology and been having a really good time with that. I do enjoy being here with you. But I think that at some point we got to give President Trump a chance, and we've got to start recognizing that we need unlikely alliances. Go back to what I said almost 6 years ago. We need unlikely alliances. We need to get to a place where we recognize that, we are not our brothers and sisters' enemy, and we've got to fight against who we know the enemy is. And frankly, that right now it's a vast majority of the leadership, and a vast majority of the judiciary, and a vast majority of the people in our country that are oppressing the people in our country, in our communities. So they're the enemy, not my neighbor. Even if he is Muslim, even if he is Jewish, he's not my enemy. My enemy is the one that takes opportunity away from my children and grandchildren and generations I won't know. We've got to focus on that. All right, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. Please go over, give us a 5-star review. If you're on Rumble, give us a thumbs up. I got my same cast of characters that watch the show that give me a couple thumbs down. That's always good to see. But I will tell you this. There's in America, it's a fest coming up on, I think, the 26th, 27th in Colorado. Heidi Ganahl and Rocky Mountain Voice is putting it on. Tina is going to be speaking at it. I would recommend it to you. To if you get a chance to come out to Colorado, I will be there. And 27, 28, excuse me. I'll be doing some advertising for it as well. And the whiteboard was tremendous. Yeah, I mean, everybody's like, oh, it's terrible. I'm like, okay, then you didn't look, you didn't watch it. Because it was spot on. I don't even know how I get any further spot on. And yeah, my handwriting is terrible. My brain works that way, I guess. Great show, Joe. America First. Absolutely first choice, 2016. Keep doing what you're doing. We all work in it together. Nessel said, FYI, Michigan Court of Appeals panel has dismissed felony kidnapping, terrorism, and firearm charge convictions against the man accused of aiding the 2020 plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Nessel said she will take the case of the Michigan Supreme Court. Oh, good. They dismissed it. Maybe we have some good judges then, huh? Maybe. Maybe they're just recognizing the wheels are so far off the wagon, and that maybe the ideologies that they were chasing is now quickly aligning with the devil itself. We'll see. We don't know. All right. Let's pray it out. Father God, thank you for David. Thank you for the sacrifices that he made. Thank you for the journey that you've put him on. And Father, this morning I said thank you just because I sat in this overwhelming environment where I was able to just count my blessings and look around. And it's hard for me to get really too upset about my life after I just look at where I've come from. And I think there are a lot of people like that, Father, a lot of people that are struggling right now, but if they just look around, they'll see the blessings that you've put in their lives, whether that is people or that's situations, or it's just maybe just the ability to have peace. So, Father, we are grateful. I am grateful for the blessings you put in my life for the last 6 years. It has been extremely worth it. And I don't know where things go from here. I don't think any of us do. But I do trust you, Father. And I look at the weaves and turns that I've had in my life, and it's hard not to look at that and just be in awe of just the things that you've been able to push me through and push other people through as well. So, Father, please forgive us if we have not honored those gifts that you've given us. We have not been appreciative for it. But help us, Father, that we can maintain this path and that we can maintain our conviction to seek the truth and to make sure that we protect our brothers and sisters, regardless of what race or religion or political affiliation. We recognize in the United States that we are the United States of America and there are citizens here. And Father, we know that we need to put our mask on before helping others, and that we shouldn't self-sacrifice or put ourselves in a position where we're willing to step over our brothers and sisters so that other people can get entitlements. And we're finally waking up to the idea that we've been treated as if we are the bad guy when we're not. We've been so generous as a country. We've been so generous as people, and they've taken advantage of, and they've lied, and they've stolen from us as people. They've taken what was now never theirs to take, including stripping you from our communities and our country. So, Father, I just ask you, help us, put us on that path, that we can restore you to every part of our lives. We can restore you to the schools. We can restore you to the communities. We can restore you everywhere. And we can use this as a stick to say that they do not get to take you away from us. So I ask these things, Father, humbly, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. I will see you later. You guys have a great day. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. All those cool things. Make sure you tune in. God bless you all.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real, no more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever